for the most part, we realize that nobody wants to listen to us because we don't really know what we're talking about. We want to hear from the people that are the authoritative figures.
Sure.
This podcast of The Bourbon Pursuit is sponsored by the folks at thewhiskeywash.com, a lifestyle website for people who always make sure they have whiskey in their life. Not because it gives them style, but because it gives them life. Thewhiskeywash.com. And we're back with another episode of the Bourbon Pursuit podcast. My name is Kenny, and today I'm going solo. Ryan couldn't make it today. I was going to have a guest host come on today, but we had some Skype problems, so we're gonna try to just go this mano y mano. But I'll go ahead and kick it off. So today I've got Seth Thompson. Seth is I guess he's pretty multifaceted. He runs the Bourbon Review magazine, probably not by himself. He's got a few different helpers. He's also got a great event he's got coming up here soon called the Bourbon Classic. So, Seth, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kenny, glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So one question we always ask our guests when we first get started is, I guess, kind of give us some background of, kind of how you got into bourbon.
Yeah, no, good place to start here, Kenny. Myself and my brother Justin and two other good friends, we all were Kentuckians. We all went to the University of Kentucky there. And in 2008 is when we launched the first issue of the Bourbon Review magazine. The Bourbon Review was essentially an entrepreneur idea, Kenny. None of us were had journalism backgrounds, really even marketing backgrounds, but, we had a common vision there to really capture sort of that romanticism and that, that special essence of what we call bourbon country, the bourbon lifestyle. We had a lot of inspiration from, Napa Valley and wine country and seeing what, it wasn't just about wine. It was about the terrain. It was about the food and just the overall culture there. So we truly believe that, here in Bourbon country, we have all those intangibles and really have something more unique in that, essentially a 60-mile radius, you've got 95% and change of the world's bourbon produced right here in our backyard. So
absolutely. So I guess what would you say really got you into it, right? I mean, there's always been a culmination or some kind of maybe family member that made you drink it. I mean, for me, it was back at UK joining a fraternity that basically just said like, nope, you're drinking bourbon from now on, right? So I guess kind of like how did you actually get in to start drinking it?
Yeah, no, good question there. I think from my start of my drinking days there. I was always more of a bourbon fan than a beer fan. For me, it just was just a taste preference. It actually took me quite a while before I could, even really get to the point of enjoying beer. I just always preferred the taste of bourbon there. And, you get started, I remember, and I'll call it the legal age of drinking there, but, sipping on Maker's Mark. And, I can remember taking baby steps. You enjoy a bourbon and Coke, you work your way up to bourbon and water, and then, when you're officially a big boy, then you're, before you know it, you're drinking, bourbon on the rocks or just bourbon neat there.
It's a natural progression. It's like the caveman sort of scenario.
That's right.
Yeah. So
standing upright.
Yeah. One last question before we dive into the event. So if your house is on fire, what's the one bottle you grab?
Well, I would say I've got a couple of old Fitzgerald bottles, that were produced at the Stitzel-Weller distillery, back from the 1960s, just for pure collection and antiquity sake. Mm-hmm. I'm probably grabbing those, but very, very tough. You put that quite brilliantly, Kenny. I get asked,
which is your favorite child?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and again, that's a good way to ask it. I get asked the question quite a bit. It's amazing. It has nothing to do with business or preference. It's a tough question to answer, and the only reason I say that, if you're a big foodie fan or a movie buff, if somebody asks you what your favorite movie is, it's like, wow, where do I start? You're talking 80s mm-hmm. comedies, what genre there? But
an 80s comedy.
Right, an 80s comedy. That's its own thing, has its own aura in itself. But, not to dance around it. God, I almost feel like that could change from month to month, just depending on kind of what, if you're into, oh man, just try the new Four Roses expression. That's really popping. Or, some days it just, good old Buffalo Trace, is a great sipper, or
oh, absolutely.
Oh wow, it's been a while since I've tried the Russell Reserve there, and this is, really doing it for me. So, I always feel like, my palate there and taste are, somewhat constantly changing, and you can either discover somebody new, or you find an old friend there that you're going back to.
Well, fantastic. So let's go ahead. We'll dive into the event. So your company, your organization, you have an event called the Bourbon Classic. So let's give a high level pitch of it, and then we'll kind of dive down into some of the events.
Yeah, no, love to, Kenny. Bourbon Classic, it's essentially our way of a deep celebration there of, again, what we call the bourbon lifestyle. And sort of what does that encompass? It's, of course, it's bourbon, in its pure form, but we're very interested, again, in just as I've already described as far as our inspiration for the magazine was, creating a wine country-esque effect here in bourbon country, something that combines the food and drink and ambiance, everything rolled into one. So our vision here, is to have, a world-class bourbon event that has a very heavy focus on the culinary arts as well. We want to flex, the bourbon country culinary muscle here, and really want to. Bourbon is unique in that it's local, it's regional, it's national, it's global. So we actually want to bring in so many chefs are very passionate about their bourbon there from a national perspective. So it's our vision to and it's our conquest to create something that again is bourbon neat, but it's also it's bourbon in cocktail form. It's chefs doing what they do well with in the kitchen there, and then using bourbon as well. Sort of all those things rolled into one, and we derived a lot of our inspiration from unique lifestyle events like the Charleston Food and Wine Fest, your Aspen Food and Wine Fest, those experiences that combine food and drink. And, for us, very important to really go after that culinary angle. And, I think I can break down. It's quite an animal there to get into. So
You're right, exactly. And so before we talk about the events and actually getting into it, talk about first location, where it's held, and how it's grown over the years.
Yeah, no. Again, great place to start there, Kenny. The critical mass here. This is upcoming is our 4th annual Bourbon Classic. So I guess the first one kicked off there in 2013, and it takes place at the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts there, downtown Louisville, very appropriately on Whiskey Row. So we love the location. It's a great spot. And Louisville has done, tremendous things with their, now growing their bourbon footprint, their distillery footprint in the city itself, but also just their, the culinary and the cocktail vibe there is really vibrant and happening. So we just really wanted to create something that, again, will be a national / hopefully, a global event, that if you're interested in bourbon, you're interested in, and if you're a food enthusiast, this is something very unique for you to come in. You can come to Louisville, stay, enjoy what we provide. But then, the really special thing about this is you're in the hotbed of the bourbon distillery world, so you can come to the Bourbon Classic, enjoy yourself Friday and Saturday evening. But during the day there, we want you to come in, on Tuesday and, really carve up Bourbon Trail and Bourbon Country there, really, go to, Maker's Mark and Jim Beam and Heaven Hill, Barton's in one day there, or 2 days, and then head over to Buffalo Trace and Woodford Reserve and Four Roses, another day, and really carve up the trail by day, and then tackle the Urban Bourbon Trail by night there.
Yeah, so by that time, before the weekend comes, if you're not sick of bourbon by now, then you're just going to get a big chunk of it by having a big gala, right, Friday and Saturday.
That is, you're definitely not going to be short of bourbon enthusiasm and the taste of bourbon. That I can almost guarantee you.
Right. So let's dive into some of the events, right? So you kind of talked about Friday and Saturday. What are some of the keynote or kind of really events that people are kind of really excited for?
Absolutely. Yeah. On Friday, for the weekend activities, we kick things off with our culinary, our chef and our mixologist pairing, small plate and cocktail competition. So, it's quite unique there, Kenny. You've got, there are 9 different stations on Friday. Each station represents a different bourbon company. And at each station, again, you've got a first-class chef, working with a top-shelf bartender. And the two of them work together on designing, small plate food and cocktail pairings. So as a consumer, we have 2 different rounds of that, a classic and a contemporary round. You have the opportunity. We've got 9 different stations. You're going to be able to try 18 different, small plate and cocktail pairings there.
That's pretty good, because there's another similar, I shouldn't say it's similar, but it's an event of just culinary stuff that's called the Taste of Innovation in Louisville, where it's something very similar, where you kind of go around a bunch of different stations. All these restaurants have these kind of different, little small plates they've kind of had, but you don't get the opportunity to pair it with a cocktail or a bourbon or a rye or whatever. And I think that's very intriguing to be able to say, first, you're giving consumers a way to kind of think like, shrimp and grits matches very well with this famous old fashioned that whatever somebody made, right? So there's a good way that consumers can kind of come away with it and learn from the people that are also making these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely part of the ambiance is, there's just so much energy. You got your chefs shaking and baking there. You got your cocktail artists, slanging the great drinks here that they've, artfully crafted. And there's just a ton of good energy. And, I almost like to call this, like to compare it to, an NBA All-Star game in a sense, in that, yes, it's a competition, but it's more about, if you're there, it means you're at the top of your game. Just like the All-Star game. Nobody cares who wins or loses. The point is you're participating in it, and you're representing the best at what you do.
Absolutely. And so it looks like Saturday's like the big day, right? It looks like this an all-day affair. Like the Friday's like it's your pregame, it's your warm-up for like everything that's going to happen on Saturday. Yeah,
that's a great way to put it, Kenny. I like that a lot. Very appropriate. Yeah, the Saturday is more, I like to call more of a all-day bourbon extravaganza. Everything takes place there at the Kentucky Center, but starting at 2:45 p.m., we kick things off Saturday with what we call Bourbon University, and we've got a block of 5 different sessions. Each session being an hour long there, so you've got 5 different hard decisions to make. You overlook it there, and you'll have we try to provide a good array of content to appease, a wider demographic of people. If you're a foodie, we've got, bourbon and country ham pairings, where we have a country ham experts, really go over the art of which is, encapsulates producing that country ham, that's aged and, has all these unique flavors to it, how that really goes well with bourbon.
That is interesting. Now that you bring that up, it reminds me of this small little tidbit. I was taking a tour at Willett Distillery, and I walked in there and you see ham legs hanging down in the rick houses. And so it's one of the few distilleries that are actually experimenting with trapping some of the angel share inside of those ham legs. So they're going to kind of see what that's going to taste like in a few months or a year. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, that's very, very, very cool, connecting the dots to Kenny. Absolutely. As far as, just real interesting experimentations there. And, again, something like the country ham session with bourbon, you get, we'll have a bourbon expert in there talking about a particular bourbon that pairs well with, that special selection of country ham there that's been aged for years, and all that, like bourbon. It's an interesting correlation, because you have the two products each are unique in how time affects and enhances the flavors there. Mm-hmm. Just like with bourbon, you have, of course, it marinating in the barrel for years at a time, and everything that accompanies that. And for me, it's been interesting to learn about, things that accompany, the aging process with the country ham. So, you have focusing again on just the entire block there. You've got that. You've got a cocktail class. We're going to have Michael Anderson, who's kind of one of Louisville's, somewhat original, big cocktail personalities, giving them some interesting cocktail 101s there. How does incorporating egg yolk into your drink, and the art of doing that, just cool things. If you're doing a party, how you can entertain people with it. We'll have, lecture material, the bourbon authors, bourbon, big personalities that are talking about their story lives in the industry. So, we try to provide a good array of unique flavor there with those sessions. And, moving into around 4 p.m. there, you have what we call our Masters of Bourbon session. And that's more like, the roundtable discussion there with some of the great, over the years we've had Jimmy Russell, we've had, those Fred Knows of the world, those great big personalities, that, very much a part of why bourbon is doing so well now. So, we've got, the storied author, Fred Minnick, very in tune there in the bourbon world. He is our MC. So he'll be, working with each personality there and having some fun exchanges with them. And he'll be kind of driving the content and the tone of that session. And then you move forward. We've got another block of Bourbon University. And again, kind of 5 different sessions you can choose from there. Some nice variety of content again. And then I was about to say, you're looking at a few of them right now. Like, again, going back to the food pairings, like in the first one, you had cheese and bourbon. This one, you've got chocolate and bourbon. So, yeah, it's got some pretty good ones. I think there's also another good one about nosing bourbon, right, to kind of get more about that aroma. Absolutely. We've got a gentleman there named Tom Johnson who's got what he calls Aroma Academy there. Mm-hmm. So, he really breaks it down into, a fun science here and just educating, consumers about, really the art of, nosing that bourbon. We had them on a podcast a few episodes ago. They're pretty interesting learning about all the different palettes that go into it and all the different things you can learn. But then there's another one that I looked at that was really cool. I guess if you are going to be coming here into the city of Louisville from out of town or something like that and want to learn more about Whiskey Row, there's more about that's actually happening there. So kind of talk about what that session's going to kind of have. Yeah, we're excited about that. I think we've got Mike. It's hard to find a more renowned bourbon historian. I mean, he is the Wikipedia bourbon. There's Mike Veach. So, we've got Mike spearheading the content of that, and we just want to get that nice blend of the new pillars there of the new Whiskey Row. Being Mr. Corky Taylor there at Peerless. I think we've got the spirits maker over at Copper and Kings. We've got Charlie Downs, I believe, of the Evan Williams Bourbon Experiences. They are, it's a larger brand, but they are producing craft bourbon there. One barrel a day at a time. In the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience. So, just a fun little group of individuals there that are part of this, new Whiskey Row resurgence, and just kind of talking about, what their experiences have been and where they're at now and where the future is. Oh yeah, totally. So it looks like after that, you're even leading up to some more things. So you got the classic taste. Yes, the classic taste there. So that is, sort of what I like to call the grand finale of the whole experience. And, lack of better words, I always just love to say there will be, an ocean of indulgence there, an ocean of bourbon to sip, enjoy. We'll have a very wide array of brands there, ambassadors, bourbon icons, personalities, just all mingling underneath one roof there. And we'll still have a terrific culinary footprint. This year we've got special guests coming in from New Orleans, the part of the Dickie Brennan culinary team, and they're very much a culinary, powerhouse in the United States there. So we were fortunate enough to have them come up. They're going to do it's kind of a bourbon street meets bourbon country theme. So they're going to be making some traditional small plate, New Orleans flavored dishes there. And we'll have a couple great chefs from, representing here in bourbon country, all providing some good eats. And, again, we'll have quite a few tasting stations to enjoy on and indulge. And, it always makes for a terrific ending to this. And, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I guess one thing we did forget to mention, it is Friday, February 26th, and then it's also Saturday, February 27th. And give folks an idea of how much tickets cost and how many are left if they need to hurry up and buy them.
Yeah, no, good questions there. For Saturday, I believe if it's not sold out, it's very close, the VIP there. So if I was a consumer, if you're interested in the VIP for Saturday, I would get online just to make sure, because if it's not sold out yet, we're very close to that threshold. But, I believe for Saturday evening, a general admission ticket, which still, it includes all the sessions. It includes everything there, everything that we've talked about. I believe that's a $155 ticket. And if you move into Friday there, I believe and correct me if I'm wrong, if you got our website pulled up there, Kenny, you can probably tell me better than I actually don't at the moment, but I believe general admission is $135 on Friday evening there, and I think the VIP is $155, and again, tickets are still available, but I know the VIPs
going fast.
Those have sold out the last few years, and we've always been, quite close there to selling out general admission. So we're, it's turned into something beautiful, and we, love the direction it's going. And if we got them,
you're going to need the convention center soon.
That's right. That'll be a good problem to have and a good place to be. But I want to let your guests know, if I can, Kenny, we're actually unveiling a couple new events this year. Rolling into the weekend again, wanting guests to come in and just really have a week-long, bourbon and foodie pilgrimage. So
absolutely, let's touch on them.
Yeah, well, on Wednesday, which I believe is February the 24th. It's an event that we're calling Loft, and it's sponsored and presented by Four Roses there. It's going to be in the Louisville's downtown, the BBC Bourbon Loft there. So Four Roses will kind of take it over, and the theme of it, we're bringing in sort of 5 young gun up-and-coming culinary chefs there, the Louisville scene. So we'll have 5 chefs, each doing their own little small plates. And Four Roses will have 3 different flights to choose from there, the small batch, single barrel, and, their own little unique expression for Wednesday evening. So again, another great combination of, great whiskey, great bourbon, great food. Their new master distiller, Brent Elliott, will be there to kind of mingle with the crowd. And, he's a terrific guy. Definitely a great opportunity to get to see the current and the future of Four Roses.
Yeah, totally.
So Wednesday is going to be a terrific event. I think tickets for that are $50. And, again, it'll be a boutique event, a boutique experience. I think we've only got 50 tickets in total we can sell. We're already, those are already going. So if that event sounds fun to you, I would recommend jumping online at Bourbon Classic and finding Loft there. And
because you already have one event that's completely sold out.
That is correct. Didn't even bring that up for that reason. No, but
well, you might as well
great
talk.
job,
You gotta give people a teaser for next year and tell them to get their tickets earlier.
Yeah, no, great suggestion there. On Tuesday, February 23rd, sort of our little kickoff, our classic kickoff there, and it's an event we're calling Top Shelf. And we're very fortunate enough to welcome the Van Winkles are very gracious enough to provide a 4-flight Van Winkle tasting. So as a ticket buyer of this, you get the opportunity to sip on 4 different kinds of Van Winkle, and then very excitingly, we've got the one of the South's, if not the hottest Southern chefs coming in as a special guest, Chef Sean Brock of Husk. There, and so his restaurant is both now in Charleston, South Carolina, and Nashville, and he's killing it. He's he's definitely he's got a huge cult following there, and Chef Brock just happens to be an enormous bourbon buff himself. That's his hobby and passion. So we're very honored to have both him and the Van Winkles paired up. Again, fortunately for this year, the event sold out. But as you mentioned, definitely something to keep in mind for next year. That's going to be at Copper and Kings Distillery, on that Tuesday.
That sounds great. I guess one of the questions I had was for Friday and Saturday. So what's a VIP ticket get you? I know they're pretty much all sold out, but just for people that are still thinking about maybe, if they can only get general admission this year and they want to step up their game from next year, what are some added benefits?
Well, it's just it's kind of like a microclimate inside the general masses there. So there's a special room carved out that on Friday evening, it's Michter's distillery will have the VIP room. So it's all Friday evenings, all cocktails, right? Well, if you go in the Michter's VIP lounge, you're going to get quite a buffet there of unique, neat bourbon expressions. And it's just, it's a way to just kind of get a little breath of fresh air. It's very comfortable, spacious in the VIP room there. And, again, you just have the opportunity to, sit back, sip and enjoy some very sought after, Michter's expressions.
Nice. And so I guess one thing that we didn't tell is that I'm looking at the site right now, there's a lot of big brands that are going to be there. So you're going to find all your usuals, Barton's, Blanton's from Buffalo Trace, Four Roses, Heaven Hill, Jim Beam, Wild Turkey, Michter's. The list will keep going on. But yeah, I mean, it seems you've got pretty much all your bases covered in regards of getting Kentucky bourbon distilleries and producers involved in this event.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Kenny. We definitely want to have a wide footprint there. We just want a good variety of the larger brands, middle brands, the new craft brands. Again, we want this to be just the bourbon event and the food event that the bourbon country that we Kentuckians can hang our hat on, be very proud of, and just something for everyone to look forward every year there. So, and one more event I didn't get a chance to dive into is the Thursday leading in the Classic. We've got, again, a brand new first time ever. It's an event we're calling Savor. And very, very excitingly, again, it took a lot of work to put this together, but the very high-end Southern resort entity, Blackberry Farm, is going to do a multi-course sit-down dinner on Thursday evening there at the Fraser History Museum, which is on Whiskey Row. So that's, it's just really hard to beat what they do as far as event production. Their chefs and beverage directors are all, they're always getting nominated for James Beard, excellent award for excellence and all that they do. So to have them here is going to be really special. And the Blackberry dinner will feature a 15-year expression of Pappy Van Winkle. So,
there you go. And after you're done with that, you can go and take a tour of the pre-prohibition exhibit as well.
Yeah, no, you're saying all the right things here, Kenny. And that's actually, you're going to get to drink your Van Winkle and see the exhibit. The way we've got this set up, it starts at 7:30, and it's begins with a cocktail reception within that Prohibition exhibit. So you're actually, as a guest, you'll check in there. You'll be escorted up to the Prohibition area, which is really cool. I've been very impressed. Got a chance to walk through it there, and they've got, just some really unique, visuals to check out and things to learn about the interesting era of Prohibition here. So, appropriately enough, it's going to be kind of fun to drink in the Prohibition area, speakeasy style, as we did back in the Prohibition days. But Blackberry's beverage team will prepare a delicious bourbon cocktail, and then in addition to that, you're going to have get to enjoy your Pappy Van Winkle flight expression there, and then you'll migrate down on the first level. That's when Blackberry will go to work, and as a consumer, you get to enjoy a 4-course meal by the world-class, world-renowned Blackberry Farm. Fantastic.
So I guess we'll leave it with a teaser for next year for 2017. Any ideas on the horizon for 2017 on how you're gonna up this game?
Yeah, I would keep your eye as a consumer. We do want to put this all from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Put it all on one big beautiful bourbon bowl, and you buy this unique package boutique experience, and you come in here and we do all we roll out the red carpet for you. You kick things off with the Van Winkle tasting on Tuesday evening, and then from there we'll take you to bourbon, behind the scene bourbon tours during the day, and then you transition to your Four Roses Loft event or Blackberry Farm dinner on Thursday events, and then then you're ready for Friday and Saturday's action. So, I think that would be a really unique experience, and that's something we're going to work hard to make happen in 2017.
Well, that's fantastic. So anybody that's out there that's still planning on it, this is right around the corner. So you're looking at the third week of February. Mostly we're looking at February 26th and 27th of 2016. You can get your tickets. Actually, just go to bourbonclassic.com, and that'll forward you over to the Kentucky Center for the Arts. But I want to say, Seth, thank you once again for coming on the show today, giving everybody insight into this event and what you guys got going on over there at the Bourbon Review.
Well, thank you so much, Ken. You've been very kind. It's been a lot of fun, and hope to see you, my friend, during the Classic Week.
You know it. So if you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bourbon Pursuit. You can also like us on Facebook if you have any suggestions for guests or anything you'd like us to talk about. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter or send us an email at theduo@bourbonpursuit.com. Seth, once again, and we'll see you all next time.